Hi, my name is Yolana Batiste, and for my presentation, I'll be talking about my brother's keeper. Yeah. Um, so I'm gonna read off what I typed up because I'm really bad at remembering stuff. So, yeah. Um, in the beginning of chapter 10, Minority, Youth, and Crime, Walker, Spone, and DeLone talks about two cases of African American boys who were tried as adults. The first young child was named Lionel Tate, and in June 2001, 12-year-old Lionel Tate killed a 6-year-old family friend while he was demonstrating a wrestling move he had learned from watching TV. Although the death of the 6-year-old boy was an accident, Lionel was convicted of the first-degree murder and sentenced to 28 years in jail without the possibility of parole. The second child that was mentioned was Nathaniel Brazil, who was 13 at the time. He brought a gun to class and killed his 30-year-old teacher, and he claimed he was trying to scare his teacher, but accidentally pulled the trigger. He was convicted of second-degree murder. Going back to Tate, he was supposed to be in jail until 2028. However, in 2003, his conviction was overturned, and he was offered a plea deal in which he pled guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for a sentence time that he already served, which was about 3 years, plus a year under house arrest and 10 years of probation. He was released from jail at the beginning, January 2004, and in May of 2005, he was thrown back in jail for robbing a pizza delivery man at gunpoint. And in 2006, he was sentenced to 30 years behind bars for a gun possession charge. And in 2008, he was sentenced to 10 years for a robbery charge. There's like a big argument on whether or not children who commit murder should be tried as an adult, and many believe that they shouldn't because they're mentally disturbed or have emotional problems, while other believes that children that take the life of another human being should be tried as an adult no matter what. In 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the imposition of mandatory life without parole sentences on offenders who are younger than the age of 18 at the time of their crimes violated the Eighth Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. And I quoted that from the textbook, page 462. Another issue minority youth faces in Chapter 10 is that in the juvenile system, it is a philosophy of parents Patre is more discretionary and less formal than the adult system. And research has even suggested that there is even a greater potential for racial discrimination in processing of juveniles than in the processing of adults, page 481 of the textbook. When minority youth children enter the juvenile system, their potential to be successful decreases. This is because there has been a number of recent empirical studies, literature reviewed, and meta-analyses report the potentially criminogenic effects of imprisonment on individual. That is the experience of having been incarcerated appears to increase the probability of engaging in future crimes. And that was quoted from The Growth of Incarceration in the United States, Exploring and Causes and Consequences, 2014, page 193. It has even been said that the average inmates who have came home from a long sentence comes home more disconnected from their family, which often leads to substance abuse and mental illnesses. There are also less education and less employable than their prior prison release in courts. Prior prison release courts. The youth program that I'm going to be talking about, even though it's like 5 minutes into the video, is My Brother's Keeper. Although My Brother's Keeper is meant to guide and mentor boys and young men of color to reach their full potential, I believe that this program would be a great aid to help young men who were once incarcerated but released at an early age, as well, before they do something that ends them back up in prison. My Brother's Keeper was launched February 2014 by former President Barack Obama. My Brother's Keeper addresses the persistent opportunity gaps that boys and young men of color face by ensuring youth can reach their full potential. In 2015, the My Brother's Keepers Alliance was launched, which was inspired by President Obama's My Brother's Keeper, with the purpose of sustaining My Brother's Keeper's mission. My Brother's Keepers Alliance focused on building a safe and supportive community for boys and men of color where they feel valued and have a clear path to opportunity. My Brother's Keepers is funded between partnership with the government, private businesses, and the philanthropic community. My Brother's Keeper has had positive outcomes. For example, there was an article about a man named Horace Morian. He was 21. He went to a Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation and came out with about 5 job offers. He was pretty psyched about it because he's a African American minority who didn't attend school. He was a high school dropout. He didn't think he had anything going for him, but he actually went to this fair and he got 5 job offers. He said that everyone who went there had a positive outcome and they all had a smile on their faces, which looked like they were all having a pleasurable experience. He even saw some guys crying because they never thought they would ever get the opportunity to even get a job. The way My Brother's Keepers plays a role in this job fair is they influenced a lot of hundreds of Detroit employers to come in and offer these young men and Latino males some jobs. So is My Brother's Keeper making a difference? Well, according to a peer review article written by Joseph Sankor, 2017, he talked about an article or a book called The Mentor, Leading with Love, The Ultimate Resource, Hammond and Senior. He put that the quote that really hit me the most was it reminds us that in any institution, caring is the cornerstone of success, and it represents an important step in transforming an institution. Page 153. So he explains that teaching, and it starts with the teachers, really. Yeah, in order for students to really want to get an education and be successful, they have to have a mentor, like a teacher, who is pushing them in that direction. The teacher doesn't have to do the work for them, but all students want a teacher who actually cares and shows that they care, no matter what race or what ethnic background you come from. Everyone just wants someone who doesn't judge us for who we are, what skin color we are, and this does help in students increase their potential to complete high school, even enter college, because some teachers are mentoring them in small groups or even just by one-on-one. Currently, My Brother's Keeper is trying to expand. So far, it's reached certain towns, cities, countries, and tribal nations in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and at least about 19 tribal nations have established My Brother's Keepers communities in their Cradle to College and Career Action Plan. And yeah, that's about it for my presentation. I don't really have any recommendations because, I mean, I think it's a really good program, and it's the best it can. I'm going to add my references to the end of my post. Thank you.